Right, so this afternoon now, we're here with Gillian. Gillian is an alcohol-free alcohol reduction coach.
Yeah.
Is that accurate? Is that
Yeah.
okay?
Uh-huh.
So, Gillian works in Ayrshire, but she has her online groups all over the place, and you work with people in groups and one-to-one as well. Is that
Yes,
correct? Okay.
that's correct.
And what do you help them do?
So we help people either take a break or quit alcohol
Mhm.
altogether.
Mhm.
It's very much dependent on what the person wants to achieve. So we have a group program, which is like a 2-month alcohol-free challenge.
Yeah.
And that's through our group called Our Circle.
Mhm.
So it's predominantly mums that we work with. And in that 2-month challenge, we'll look at how parenting and motherhood and alcohol can often become quite interlinked.
Mm-hmm.
And we just pose, like, we just try and dive a wee bit deeper into like why we're drinking, what it is we're looking for when we're drinking, what we don't like about drinking, just kind of bring awareness to it, because often people are drinking just out of routine because that's what we've always done. So yeah, we try and help people stop with the 2-month challenge, and then you can progress on to the group membership. And we have just launched our one-to-one program. So that's for people who don't really like the kind of community side, just want to get on with it, want more intense, more impactful coaching. And that is going to be much more unique to that person's type of drinking and reasons for drinking. So, but again, it's really up to the person. Some people will come to us at the point where they want to stop drinking. They have they're fed up with it. And some people want to take tactical breaks. Like more and more people, I think, are realising that taking a break from alcohol is quite a life hack. So some people may have another goal in their life. It might be another fitness goal. It might be a business-related goal. And they're realising by taking alcohol out of the equation for a wee while, they're going to reach those goals much more effectively, much more consistently.
So what kind of things are people seeing? What is happening when people are stopping alcohol?
Again, for a lot of people it varies, but most often people would say calmness and clarity. People start to understand themselves a wee bit more. Obviously, it's a lot of mums that we work with, and they do say that kind of presence, calmness with the kids, because you're not going through those ups and downs that come either with alcohol itself or with the hangovers as well. And when I say hangovers, I don't mean those dreadful days that most people have had. And you're like just wishing it would kind of end, the day would come to an end. But just that tiredness, that like feeling unmotivated, not particularly happy with what you're not achieving. Because what people mostly gain when they stop drinking is consistency. So when you say you're going to do something the next day, you're in a position to do it. A lot of us have said to the kids, "Oh, we'll do that," and then you've been out the night before, there's been a family party, and the next day you're just like, "Oh, can't see for that part."
And even if you do the thing you're going to say, you're not present. Like you said, you're just like waiting for it to be over.
Yes.
You're not enjoying it as much as you could, and like your kids are only kids for a wee while. They're not kids forever, so you have to make sure that you enjoy them while you. Like I barely drink at all. There's a few shall we say, logistical reasons for that, because I live on a farm out in the middle of nowhere, and it's just going to the pub is just an expense, like an expense in the actual pub, but then getting home via a taxi or something is just an inordinate expense. I'd rather just, if I'm going out in Glasgow, I'd rather just not drink. My friends can drink, that's fine, but I'll just not drink. I'll just drive home. I'll have as good a time as they will, but I just don't need. I won't spend money on alcohol, and I won't spend £100 to get a taxi home from Ayrshire from Glasgow. And like most of my friends are in Glasgow, kind of just through work and uni and things like that. But yeah, having on a Saturday and a Sunday morning, I rarely ever have hangover. And even if I do drink, it's only maybe a couple.
Right.
But yeah, so that's the kind of the mums you're working with are finding that they're able to be there for their family a bit more.
Yeah.
What are they finding from kind of like health benefits? Are they finding like, well, is there anything you're noticing from them? Or anything they're reporting back to you?
So people are able to start looking after themselves physically and mentally more, because you start to become a bit more aware of your own mood, your own needs a bit more, and you find better and healthier ways to like address them. And with that, there just becomes this kind of wish to look after yourself a bit better. So because you start to you're then able to make some better choices in relation to your food. And then, as I said earlier, the consistency. So you might have been saying to yourself for the last 5 years, I'm going to go to that class Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And come Monday, you're still feeling a wee bit ropey if you've had a drink weekend. So Monday's out the question. You might manage.
Excuse me.
You might manage the Wednesday, but then come the Friday, you're like, oh, I've done great this weekend. I'll have a drink. When you take that out of the equation and you start becoming more consistent, you're physically able to show up at places to help you with your health and well-being. So, and as well, because you are able to do, or flip it around the other way, when you're not consistent, often there's a lot of that mental negative talk to yourself. So emotionally and mentally, that's really quite damaging when you kind of say, oh, I never done it again this week, or well, I'm never going to manage this. And particularly women, that negative talk, that negative cycle can be really quite damaging. But it only takes you a couple of weeks of actually achieving something to start switching that round. So the belief and the confidence that comes with that, like all of a sudden people are like, I can do this. And that's just motivation for more.
Yeah. So the talk that we have with ourselves is just a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you and the consistency with not drinking, but also consistency with like kind of the people that I work going to the gym, you miss a gym workout, the negative talk that comes from that only goes away when you get, so say it's like you're meant to go to the gym on the Monday and you're like, oh, I didn't get today, go on Tuesday, get yourself back in the routine. Don't the trap that people get into, they go, oh, I'm going to start on Monday, and they're saying that to themselves the Wednesday of the week before, and then they've got all the rest of that week, and then it comes Monday, they maybe haven't had the best weekend, been drinking, and then Monday they feel like crap, and then they don't go on Monday, and then they've got I'll start next Monday. No. But they've got a whole week of saying to themselves, you should have went on Monday, you should have went on Monday. And then that just brings the chances down that you're actually going to do it. So the strategy that I have with a lot of my clients is, don't wait to do a workout. If you have a chance to do a workout, go and do one. If they need me to tell them what to do, so like, which is part of like what I do, obviously, I can, just takes me 2 minutes to put a workout in for them. I know they can do reasonably well, but the consistency thing comes from, it's like yin and yang. A lot of people, when I have like conversations with people, say, oh, the first thing they say, I'm lacking motivation. Well, so when you're going to get motivated? I was like, oh, I'm waiting for it to happen. Well, that, like, the motivation comes with the consistency.
Yeah, you've got to take the action.
Yeah.
And it's the same with alcohol. People will always say, oh, I want to stop drinking, but I've got a holiday in 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Or I want to stop drinking, but I've got a wedding next month. Or there's always going to be something. There's always, life is so busy. There's a million reasons not to go to the gym. There's a million reasons not to go.
Yeah.
You've got to be at a point where there is a reason to go. And see, once you're there, you see the benefits, you feel the benefits, and that's your evidence.
Yeah. Right. So I think people let them up. It's kind of this weird thing where if you let yourself off too easily, you don't get to where you want to be. But then if you're too hard on yourself, you also don't get to where you want to be. So you've got to have realistic expectations. And I think a lot of reducing alcohol consumption and also a lot of fitness is about, are your expectations of what this process is going to be, are they appropriate? So there's a really good phrase I heard about this, a guy called Mike Israetel, who's like a YouTuber. He says, don't have Napoleonic goals, right? So that was the downfall of Napoleon. He overstretched himself, and as successful as he was 20 years after that, like his empire was gone. So like your goals, if we couch it in kind of, I want to lose 10 kilograms in a month. There's no way anyone's going to do that. There's no way, like, you'd have to starve yourself. And what's going to happen is, even if you did get to that end of that month and you lost your 10 kilograms, you're going to be in such a bad mood and grumpy, and you're just going to rebound straight back out of it. Whereas if you said, right, I'm going to lose 5 kilograms and it's going to take me 3 months, you actually might get to the 5 kilograms after 2 months, and then you go, oh, that was, and you get that reinforcement.
Yep.
God, I got to my goal earlier than I thought I was, and then that positive self-talk comes back in. You find that, why have you chosen like 2 months for these, or 8 weeks, or whatever it is? Why have you chosen 2 months for these challenges?
It's a good question. Yeah. So there's lots of alcohol-free challenges out there which are 1 month, and that's how I started. But I don't think 1 month's enough to get for habits to form or other habits to break. And because we look at the parenting side of it, like, so a lot of the questions we ask is about being a parent as well and how alcohol fits into that. So rather than it's not just the alcohol, we look at it a bit more widely. So we feel as if that gives us a bit more time to do that. Yeah, and I did do month challenges, and there's obviously loads out there which are brilliant. They're dry January, dry July, and things like that. I think you then kind of just get to the end of that and can drop off, whereas 2 months just lets you actually really, the benefits happen really, really quickly from taking a break from alcohol, but that lets them really embed in, and you really start to see the benefits more so in the 2 month period as well.
It's I think the habit formation part of it, or breaking the habit, like, I mean, it takes a lifetime to make a habit and a moment to break it, kind of thing. I mean, that's a bit of an extreme example, but I think the actual kind of studies on this is it takes somewhere between 21 and 60 days to form a habit. And once something's formed as a habit, it's just part of your life. You don't really even think about it. Like, I don't, for the last 5 years, I think I can probably count on my hand how many times I've done less than 3 workouts a week. Do you know what I mean? So like, I don't know what my life would be without at least doing 2 workouts a week. And even that is my job. That is I've got that. But even if this was my job, I know plenty of personal trainers who don't actually make working out a priority in their own life. And they're the personal trainer. It's like a wee bit out of shape, but still, like, still like a good trainer and reasonably fun to be around, but they're not walking the walk. And they might feel they don't need to. They might have paid their dues, but I don't think fitness isn't a thing that you should look back on and say, "Oh, that was when I was my fittest." It should be something that you maintain for your whole life. Just as like, oh, I'll look back and last July, that's when I was my most sober. Like, yeah, that doesn't make sense. Yeah. It's something you need to maintain through your whole life. Otherwise, there's no point in being the fittest you've ever been in your life for a month.
Yeah.
And then, oh yeah, it's not a tick box exercise. It's a lifestyle, and that's where the way I feel about with alcohol. Whether you drink alcohol or you don't, it's part of your lifestyle. Does your lifestyle? A lot of people have like the idea that a lifestyle is only something that's good, but you can have a bad, you can have a deleterious lifestyle. You can have something that's making your relationships worse. It's making your career worse. It's having all these small negative effects that are just chipping away over a long time, and part of your health is one of those things. But the effect that alcohol has on that doesn't just come from the calories, which is kind of like calories, and from alcohol, it's, for anyone who doesn't know, every gram of alcohol you have is 7 calories. So it's somewhere between a gram of fat and a gram of carbohydrate or protein. So proteins or carbohydrates are 4 grams, and fat is 9 grams. 9 calories per gram. So you're having something that's nearly as many calories as fat, and you're getting absolutely no benefit out of it. It's a poison that you're literally getting into your life now. And I'm not saying that everyone needs to quit alcohol all the time, but people have to be aware of the effect of alcohol, especially when and it's like you said earlier, I've been really good all week. It's Friday now. I'm going to have a glass of wine. How many people have a glass of wine?
I certainly know.
Like, how many people, or even like half a glass of wine? What happens? Like, well, you have half a bottle of wine. Or you have, and even wine, it's not just alcohol, it's wine. There's sugar in wine. There's like, you're having the calorie deficit. So if your goal is to lose weight, the calorie deficit you've created by being good for the full week, you've just undone in one night. Plus all the cascade of negative effects that come from effectively putting a poison into your body.
Just commented on a guy's Instagram post there, and he was kind of commenting on, you would have to drink all this wine in order to put on X amount. And I commented back saying, but it's not in isolation. It's not just wine.
It's not just calories.
It's like, exactly. It's like the fact that your body, see, as soon as you ingest alcohol, it's no longer the fancy G&T or the Sauvignon Blanc. It's ethanol. And your body, and that's a top level toxin in the body. So your body can't do anything else than break that down. So whether that's like fighting a cold, digesting food, hormone balance, which I know is a big thing for a lot of the women that I work with, recovery after like a big week of training, all that slows down or stops in order to do that. And all the other chemical imbalance that happens as a result of your sleep, the glycogen that the liver's used up in order to break it down, like all of that. So that man's advice was great at highlighting how many wines you would need to put that in. But there's nothing like, there's fitness or calories, or it doesn't just come in isolation. It's a big pack.
There's an insidious layer below it just being calories. And hello there, I just want to take a minute in the middle of this video to introduce myself. I'm Coach James Corbett. I'm an online personal trainer and strength coach. I've got a really good article for you guys to check over on the website, which is the biggest mistakes, called Jim's biggest beginner gym mistakes, I think. I'll put the article down in the script in the description. Jump over there, have a read through those. Most of the pain points that come from people in the gym is either they're not getting results for the amount of time they're putting in, the time and effort. So I can help you with that. This article will help you with that. And they are working so hard to get the same amount of results when they could be working a lot less to get the same amount of results if they did things smartly and efficiently. So hopefully that article will help you walk through that. So jump in down in the description below. I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. And I think that is the behavioural aspect of alcohol is, and I've literally just started doing a series on Instagram just now, which is calories in versus calories out, why that might not be working for you. And undisputedly, calories in, if you consume less calories than you expend, you will lose weight.
Yep.
That's just thermodynamics. That's the law of physics. It's undefeated. It can't be disproven. But I'm currently at 19 reasons why that might not be working. And I'm just doing like 3 at a time, right? So I'm at 19 reasons why that's not working, because, and I'm looking at them, and 15 of them are all behavioral, like habit form things. And the rest are like around expectations and things like that. So you cannot take away the psychological factor from alcohol consumption. And what also happens is you go to the pub, you have a few beers or a couple of glasses of wine, or what, like, I don't know if many of your clients will be having a few beers in the pub, but they might be having a couple of glasses of wine. And what do you do when you leave the pub? You go and have a kebab, or well, most of the guys that I know, and I certainly did that when I was younger. Or you, on the taxi home, you get on Uber Eats and get something delivered. Like it's so easy nowadays. You're like, take your phone out of your pocket, and you're like 8 taps on your phone away from a pizza coming to your front door. Like, and that comes from all the bad choices that come with alcohol on top of that. And then there's all the other bad choices that come with alcohol, that perhaps you got yourself into a situation you didn't want to be in, or you didn't want to be. If you'd been sober, you wouldn't have ended up in you wouldn't have ended up in that situation. And that's when you wake up in the morning with the fear.
Yes.
Like whether that's just like you've said something to someone that you maybe shouldn't have. Yeah, or you've done something to someone you shouldn't have, or you've done something with someone you shouldn't have. Like I certainly was guilty of that when I was younger, but yeah, it's been a while since I've done that.
It's not just even the time of the drinking. Certainly, as I was getting older, the sluggishness and everything, the tiredness, the hangover lasted longer. So the next day, you're eating rubbish because of the hormones. Exactly. And maybe even the next day, you're still feeling a wee bit weary. The exercise that you should have been doing, you've not been doing. So, yeah, I think you can knock your pan in for 5 days, eating great, exercising great, and it is at least one step back, if not more, if you have a drink. And I don't say to anybody, don't drink. Like, that's certainly not the position that we come from in our circle. What I think people should know is the truth about alcohol and what it is doing, not the stories that we've been told about alcohol, or what big alcohol wants us to think with the advertising and stuff. Actually, what's it doing when you ingest it? And then make a decision about whether that fits in with you, your life, your goals, whether it's fitness, whether it's business, whether it's just the kind of mum you want to be, and then make your own decision about it.
Yeah. There is there is a small percentage of the population who the alcohol they intake works on the dopamine receptors, your dopaminergic receptors. for that group of people who really actually get the buzz of alcohol, not everyone gets that. Those people, they're probably the group of people that actually need to consider not having it at all, because that's the group of people that end up being dependent on alcohol, and actually just to get them back to baseline, they have their drink, they're hungover the next day, and then they have another drink, and then that's how they end up being a dependent relationship with alcohol. Do you have do you have people like that, or
so we're not
are you referring them to other?
So we're not trained to work in the addiction or the dependency, like the physical dependency, because coming off, if you're in that end of the spectrum, coming off alcohol is very dangerous. Like, it's more dangerous coming off alcohol than it is crack cocaine if you're dependent on it. So it definitely requires like medical intervention. And so we're not trained to do that, and we would refer on. And we have said to people, sorry, we can coach you alongside, but you need to seek medical support.
You need to be going to your GP. And you need to be getting for this.
But in terms of like the dopamine hit, it is there. It's like it only lasts about 20 minutes, and then you look. That just in the body's very natural pleasure pain cycle, and then what you do is think, oh, well, I want to get that again, and that's when you either go for another drink, you drink more often, you drink stronger, or you drink a greater volume. And just like in the gym, if you keep going, if you do more, like you build a tolerance. You build a tolerance, and that's why alcohol is an addictive substance. How far you go down that can be linked to genetics and the reasons or whatever else. It is an addictive substance, and that's before you even put all the stories and the reasons and the social stuff like behind it.
The social factors, like you go to the bowling green. And that's when you go to the bowling green, you have a drink.
You have a drink. It's Christmas, so you have a drink. It's sunny, so you need a wee beer in the garden. Like,
it's your birthday, so you have a drink. It's your wife's birthday, you have a drink. Absolutely. It's your husband's birthday, you have a drink. So like, getting and breaking those associations. I'm assuming that's where your coaching comes in.
Exactly, because even if someone says, "I want to stop drinking," it's just not as easy as that. For some, it is, right? But for a lot of people, it isn't. Particularly if you've started drinking when you were a teenager, certainly where you live, the cultural side of it, the stories that we've told ourselves. Some people cannot imagine going out with family or friends and not drinking. I said it myself, what are you not drinking for? Don't be boring. Like, we want to be part of the crowd. We don't want to be the one sitting at the side and not like connecting or clicking with people. So there's a fear attached to that, and people just can't imagine. And I was certainly one of those people. I drank because we finished work. I drank because it was a birthday. I drank because I had a good day. I certainly drank when I had a stressful day. And that was normal because everybody round about me done that as well. And so to be the one that says, don't want to do that anymore, can have a bit of a pushback for other family, for other friends. So it's just not as easy as saying, that's it, I've stopped. And that's where the coaching comes in. And that's where the community side of it comes in, because if people are having one of those nights where they think, it's a really rubbish day at work and I want to have a drink, we've got the WhatsApp group there. If Karen and I aren't around, other ladies in it, like, come on, like, just get something planned for tomorrow morning. Why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? And you're building your other wee community that you're part of on the side almost.
It's very interesting the parallels between that and what I do with kind of health and my nutrition coaching that I do. A really big thing that I've noticed is that if I have a man or a woman coming in, and unless their spouse is at least neutral about the situation, the success they have is very limited. Obviously, if their spouse is supportive, then like it's a done deal. They're gonna have success, because when they go home, they're in a positive environment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where their spouse is on board with getting all the biscuits out of the house. Their spouse is on board with starting to cook more meals at home, to centre their meals around a protein source, to even like I'm saying, like, get the alcohol out your house. And I'm the same. I don't ever tell people not to have cakes or sweets or anything. What I say to them is, if you want a cake or a sweet, or some sort of treat, make sure that you've got to leave the house, go to the shop and buy one, and walk, and don't take the car. Make sure it's walk. Make sure you're walking, and that's usually the putting those barriers in the way of the bad behaviours we don't want, and breaking down the barriers of the behaviours we do want. That's the parallels between what I do with nutrition coaching and what you're doing with your alcohol reduction or alcohol free coaching is it's just behaviorism. It's behavioural, and it's quite striking, to be honest, and it's something that I don't think many people in their own behaviours take that into account. They don't think about it that way. Yeah.
Well, it's thinking about it, isn't it? Because so much of what we do is a habit or a routine. That's the way the brain works. That's how we filter out so much information and do what we do on a daily basis. And when your eating habits, your food choices, or your alcohol consumption have got quite routine around a certain event, and you do it, you're stressed, you eat, you're stressed, you have a drink. Like, you need to put like wee buffers around that make you stop and think, like, is that what I want to do? Something to just make it a wee bit more difficult to do it so easily, to do it so quickly. And with that wee buffer comes awareness. And you just start to question it a wee bit more.
Do you think people are... I don't know if this is something you've had reported back from your clients, but or the people you're coaching, is if they're telling people they're giving up alcohol, do they think they have a problem?
I think it's a big thing. It is. I think people worry that that's what people think, because there is going alcohol free, taking a break, or quitting altogether is becoming more of a thing these days, but it's still not there yet. And so people will still think there's got to be a reason for it. There's got to be a problem. There's got to have been a rock bottom type incident. And that is a real fear for people, that they'll be like, God, they must think I'm this. They must think I'm that. They must think I'm an alcoholic. There's still a lot of stigma around, which makes that choice difficult for people. But what people notice more and more is, yes, that's the initial thing. And we coach people round about, right, so what would you say? How would you say it? Who are you worried about? Why do you think that is? And we explore that a lot more. But it always comes down to the other person. Because they'll be like, well, if she stopped drinking, she must think I need to stop drinking. Right? Or like, I drink more than she does. She does stop drinking. And people then become defensive. And that's why they say or do or think something about somebody else. People are so in their own head. It's rarely about anybody else. It's all about, and do you know what I mean? So, but I know that was a big worry for me. I was like, people are going to think I've got a problem. Now, I know now I rant and rave and tell everybody about it, but it wasn't always like that. There was a lot of anxiety around it.
What you think that someone else thinks about you is just your own perception of yourself imposed on someone else, and it's like, because that person might they might not even think that, so you need to have a chat with them about it, and if they did think that, they probably wouldn't be someone in your life that you wanted to pay attention to
Exactly.
anyway. So someone who actually cares about your well-being, and you tell them, "Oh, I'm going to take a break from alcohol," if they respond with anything but positivity, you know that they don't have your best interests in heart. So that could be someone that, and that can be daunting for someone, because if that's your husband or your wife and they have a bad reaction to you trying to do something positive in your life, you're like, well, oh my God, this that could be like, are we meant to be together? Are we like, that can be a earth-shattering paradigm. Just your whole life can just fall from you saying to them, "Oh, I think I'm going to take a break from alcohol," and that can be the stigma from that. But quite often that's just all in somebody's head. The steps that it's taken you to get to that situation, that person might actually need your support. Like it might actually be you stopping alcohol, or you starting a fitness routine, or starting to go to the gym, or starting to eat healthier. That might be the example that person needs to improve their own behaviour.
And for all the people that are worried about, that would say, "What are you doing?" I've had so many people come to me and say, "How did you do it?" Like, and it's not until you see someone you know doing something, you think, well, maybe I could do that. Like, I remember I went away with the girls on holiday, and I was the only one that wasn't drinking, but we got on the plane, and nobody had a drink. And it was like, oh my God, I must have been the bad drink. Because if I'd been drinking, I'd have been like, yeah, we'll have like those, however many of those bottles. And then I was like, well, really? Maybe I was like the ringleader behind all of this. So most of it's in your own head. Most of it's in your own head. But you could also be like the lighthouse for somebody else to be like, well, if she can do that, I can do it.
That plane, you're like, oh, this is going to be a boring holiday?
Me?
Yeah.
No. Sorry, I was even thinking about them. It was definitely, you start going.
Maybe you're thinking that's what they're all thinking. Like,
I know.
Joe's going to make us be sober for this whole week. Like, I have some questions for you.
Yes.
We've kind of covered a lot of them, like in the kind of chat we have, but we can kind of sum them up a little bit. But I put out like the WhatsApp group that I've got for my clients. I said, right, I'm going to have a chat with Gillian. If you get any questions, most of them said, "Hi there, thank you for watching that interview with Gillian. You've got to the end right now, so part 2 will be coming out probably in a couple of days. So make sure that you like and subscribe for to the YouTube video. So like, subscribe, hit the little bell button. That means you'll get notified when the next video comes out. You've got a little notification. I hope you enjoyed that. And part 2 will come out, and that's going to be like questions from me to Gillian from my clients, and questions from Gillian's kind of alcohol reduction clients to me about fitness, health, all that kind of good stuff. All right. Hope you enjoyed. Sign up for part 2. I'll speak to you later. Bye.